You guys know and love him, one of the most prolific comedians working right now. Put your hands together for Josh Johnson!
It's funny how sometimes people like enter your life without you ever meeting them. Like you don't get to know them, but you hear stories about this person through the people that you know or a friend of a friend, but then they just keep coming up and you feel like they're in your life, even though you've never met them. You wouldn't know them on the street if you saw them, right? There was a guy like that for me named Marty. I never met Marty. Wouldn't have been able to track him down if you gave me a 23andMe and a genealogy test or something like that. I knew Marty through stories, because Marty had an interesting life. This dude spent a bunch of time in France. He was American-born, lived in France for a long time, learned French super fluently, and apparently he told one of his friends, this is how I heard the story, that he dreamed in French. Like he spoke English, obviously, and he lived in the States again, but his dreams would just be full of people speaking French at different points and stuff. And it came up because here in the US, he met someone and they fell in love, but she was French. So went all the way to France, didn't meet anybody. Came back here, met a French woman, right? And there was a day where Marty, he basically, in a nutshell, forgot his girlfriend's birthday. It was their first year together, so we're still like been dating some months, but hanging out all the time and everything. I said, my birthday, you're supposed to remember, that's part of the relationship quiz. And it kept seeming like maybe there was a surprise waiting or he was pretending to have forgotten or something. And then he went and took a nap. Yeah, not only did you forget my birthday, you napping in my face. And then I guess when she realized that he genuinely did forget, she woke him up. And she woke him up mad. And when she was mad, she'd go straight to French, right? Because she'd be so mad she wasn't putting it in English for him. And so he woke up to his girlfriend yelling at him in French. So he thought he was still dreaming. So wakes him up. Can't believe you forget my birthday. What's wrong with you? Are you out of your mind? You over here playing in my face all day? All in French. I'm paraphrasing. And then he was squinting, real tired, and was looking up at her and just wonders, I guess, to himself, am I having a dream right now? And so he casually, while she's yelling at him, puts his finger in her mouth. I don't know if you ever had somebody forget your birthday before, but you definitely have not had them put their finger in your mouth as you were letting them have it. And there was like felt like dozen funny stories like that about Marty. Marty was an interesting dude, and he just moved in different circles than me. Never met Marty or anything. But Marty got older, got married, had some kids and stuff. And then Marty got sick, and Marty had cancer. And, there were some treatments that they could try, but it wasn't looking good, and his insurance wasn't gonna cover it, and he couldn't do it out of pocket, and Marty passed away. And it's crazy because one of the other things about Marty that people talked about was how he was like a good boss. It's sometimes hard to be a good boss because people don't like being bossed around. Like people don't enjoy someone telling them what to do, but somebody got to tell you what to do if we all work here. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't just show up to work and be like, you figure out whatever you feel like. Nothing would get done. Like, there do need to be bosses sometimes in certain situations. It's just how you are a boss, you know? Like, there are certain managers that I've had in my life that, honestly, I had the easy job, and they still made it hell, because they were hell to be around, you know? There's nothing like having an easy job that you know is an easy job. I could do this in my sleep, but I gotta do it next to a jerk. That's the worst, you know? You know those people, got time to lean, got time to clean. And this is another thing I have to accept about bosses, I have to accept about managers. There are some jobs where genuinely, it's in the handbook, it's like part of the job. The job makes you kind of come off like, or maybe turn into a bastard. Do you know what I mean? Because there are policy handbooks of companies where if you got time to lean, you got time to clean is in the book. They just quote them. So there are some jobs where you got to be a monster to do them. And there's some jobs that make you a monster, you know? I was thinking about that when the shooting in New York happened. I know. Because for me, in case you didn't know, in case you somehow have not been on Earth, there was a shooting in New York. Basically, this dude walked up behind CEO of United Healthcare, and he shot him several times, and then he went off, right? But apparently he had been camped out there waiting. That dude walks past him. He goes, pop, 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 pop. And then he jumps on, apparently, a city bike, which is not advisable. And then he heads over to Central Park and disappeared into the night/day, because it was day. It was broad daylight, too. That's also what felt so insane about it. It happened during the day. You gotta understand, there's New York day things and New York night things. We usually keep the shootings after dark. And when it happened, it shook everything up. Everyone was obsessed. The news was obsessed. The news was obsessed when it happened. The news was like, finally, we have something to talk about that's not Trump. Oh, wow. What a day. So the news talked about it all day. The news talked about it nonstop. The news would even have people on to discuss it who clearly were just finding stuff out in the moment with us on the news. They would bring the expert on and then play the clip. And then the expert would watch the clip and be like, damn, it's like you. You were supposed to know, sir. That's why you're on the news. The news was absolutely obsessed, right? The news even did a thing that I've never seen before that I very much resented, because I'm just gonna be honest with you. This entire time, I'm just gonna be telling you how I feel. I'm not gonna tell you how to feel. I'm not gonna judge how anyone feels. I'm just talking about myself, right? When I saw it happen, when I saw that video footage that they played, when I saw that dude walk up and pull out a gun and point it at that CEO, I thought to myself, thank God those are white hands. Oh. When I saw those lily white hands, when I saw those pearly white hands, I thought to myself, what a white sight. What a beautiful white thing to happen that does not have anything to do with me, that should not blow back on me at all. What a white moment in America. And then in their obsession, continually, over and over again, describing what happened, going over what happened, the news did something. CBS this morning showed the clip. They showed this man walk up, pull out the gun, and they said on CBS in the morning, a light-skinned man. No. No, light skin. When has the news ever said light skin? What's next, CBS? Red bone? Light skin. I was horrified. No, you know, if it had been a black person, they would say black, because they love saying black. Anytime a black person does something, the news is like, this black. This black was last seen at the scene of the crime. You know this black. If you've seen this particular black, call this number so you can report him for his blackety-black crime. Guys, light skin. The news was obsessed with it, top to bottom. You could not watch anything else. I'm sure stuff was happening everywhere in the world, but you wouldn't know it. Just kept circling this one block in Manhattan, and people were obsessed with it. Us, were obsessed with it. It's all I heard people talking about. People who I know don't watch the news, people who I know don't really care about current events. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was debating it on social, online. Everyone was talking about it. People were so obsessed that the backpack that the shooter was wearing sold out. Because in America, everything is an ad, including murder. People were so obsessed. You know, like those Timothy Chalamet lookalike contests they've been having in New York? A bunch of white people got together, because they knew he was white. A bunch of white people got together in the park and all dressed like the shooter and had a shooter lookalike contest. And it's been done in comedy before. I understand. It's a joke that's well worn. White people be like this. Black people be like this. But can I just say, as a black person, we have never, as black people, watched the news, seen the suspect, and then went outside specifically dressed as the suspect. We've never watched the morning, the 8 o'clock, the 10 o'clock, the midnight news and been like, oh, that's a good fit right there. Let me make sure I got it right. A red bandana. Okay, I need a red one. That's just how you can tell being white is a different experience, because these white people racially profiled themselves for fun. That's just having a time. So the news was obsessed, and people were obsessed, and CEOs were obsessed. CEOs were like, what? What happened? Oh my God. Oh my God, are you serious? And they didn't know each other? Kids, he just did that in broad daylight to one of us? CEOs started making moves, man. CEOs of all the healthcare companies started taking down all of their profiles. All of their LinkedIns were just back to factory settings. And look, I need to be clear about something. I mean, you're gonna glean this off of me the entire time. I don't want anybody to die, right? I don't celebrate death in any way, right? But I will say, if you feel in the wake of this thing happening, like you have to scrub all mention of you, all knowledge of your existence off of the internet, then maybe, just maybe, take a look at how you do business, take a look at the person. Do you know what I mean? Because I've seen this thing before in a different way. Okay, so I had a buddy who, I went to his apartment for the first time, and this dude, I understand taking precautions, because that's what they will say they were doing. They were like, we don't know the motive, we don't know why this person would do this thing, we don't know who they are, we don't know if they're gonna come for one of us, so we try to protect ourselves, you know, just take everything off. And that's what this guy was doing. I went to his house for the first time, went to his place, and he had 6 locks on his door. At 6 locks, something needs to change. At 6 locks, you either need to move or change your ways, all right? Because this dude had 6 locks. He was dealing a little bit of drugs and stuff, but I was like, 6 is, come on. What are you doing? It takes you a minute and a half to open the door. I can hear it. You hear chains, you hear all that stuff. You know? I was like, isn't this worse for you? You really worried somebody coming to get you? You got 6 locks. You sure you won't get killed trying to get in? But that happened, and the news was having trouble thinking of a motive. The news, they were like, why? Why would anyone? Why? Who could it be? You know? Police were having trouble coming up with a motive when they went on the news. They were like, we have no idea why this individual would do something like this. CEOs could not think of a motive. They were like, but we're us. I thought everybody loved us. Everybody wants to be us. Why would somebody come after us, right? You see it on the news. And this is also, I'm not gonna lie, this is how you can tell the news is owned by billionaires. Because the news was like this devastating, terrifying, harrowing attack in New York. And I'm not saying, look, a murder did take place. I'm not saying that it couldn't have been those listed as those things. I'm just saying you're the news. Like, you are the mainstream media. You play horrific stuff all the time. You're the same news that when those pages were going off on those people in the Middle East exploding, you were like, check this out. Isn't that wild? The moment 1,000 pages went off and killed a bunch of people. You know what I mean? That same news is like, we still don't know who or why or what or how. No, police couldn't think of a motive. CEOs couldn't think of a motive. CEOs of other healthcare companies couldn't seem to think of a motive. This thing happened the same week as one of the main insurance providers was saying out loud with their full chest, we gonna stop doing anesthesia if you take too long. You better which, by the way, is not up to the patient. That's also one of the most insane things about that new policy they were going to try out. I've never had to administer anesthesia to myself. That's just heroin. Yeah, if your surgery takes too long, it's not like they're there, by the way. It's not like they have to wait on you in the waiting room or something. If your surgery takes too long, we're going to charge extra to put you back under. If your surgery takes too long, we might not cover more anesthesia. What? In what world did we think you could pay for health insurance and then you wake up during, who knows, whatever serious surgery you're having, and then your doctor has to be like, hey, do you have like $650? Because if not, I know you're a little groggy, but can you understand me right now? I know you're literally open, but can you understand what I'm saying? If you don't have it, that's okay. I got a stick. We can Civil War this right now. The stick is $20 though, so it's... Couldn't think of a motive, you know? And the CEOs as well, when you look at this guy, you look at this dude, I don't think anyone was ready. I don't think the news was ready. I don't think the police were ready. I don't think the rich were ready for how, like, on the shooter's side the public was. Do you know what I mean? Like, how absolutely, unequivocally on his side. Immediate. I didn't know it had happened and there were already jokes. Do you know what I mean? Immediately. You know? The people, I'm not going to say as a whole, because I'm not going to speak for everybody, but for the most part, were on the shooter's side. They don't know the motive. They don't know why he did this thing, but they were glad that it happened. And so out of it, you get these CEOs, you get these rich people going on the news and really campaigning, being like, look, the CEO, this man was a father, this man was a husband, this man, and they really appealed to the humanity of this CEO. And there were people who heard that appeal, and they said, yeah, no, I know he was a person, so was my cousin. So was my brother, so was my sister, so was my friend. You know what I mean? This man had children. He leaves children behind. This is a senseless death. It did not have to happen. And it's like, yeah, no, I know about I know about avoidable deaths. You know? I'm a customer. I know people who have died these avoidable deaths because it took too long to get their medicine, took too long to get the treatment. Maybe it wasn't covered. Maybe they're on the phone forever. This man was a father. He was a husband. Okay, so was Marty. You know what I mean? And I think the thing that people are wrestling with, the thing that we're all trying to contend with in how we feel about this thing, because people want to feel like good people. We know that murder is wrong. We know that death is a tragedy, right? Because to me, personally, when I look at any death, when I look at any killing in that way, I personally look at it as a loss and a tragedy, because as long as someone is alive, there's potential. There's potential to turn things around. There's potential to change. And then if you lose that potential, then your story gets cut short and maybe things would have turned around. I'm not saying that they would have, but the thing that we're all wrestling with is that a murder did happen. Someone killed someone in cold blood. They just didn't kill an innocent man. Do you know what I mean? That's also what feels so conflicting about it. Like, a killer killed a killer. This dude was the CEO. A lot of people died under his watch, through his policy, through what United Health does. You know? There are a lot of people that are gone, and when you can When you can see an act happen in real time, it's very easy to look at it, be shocked by it, and call it murder. When you can spread all of the culpability, when you can spread all of the actions across thousands of individuals and a whole system, now somehow it's nobody's fault, you know? And like you look at someone like Brian Thompson, that CEO, that dude was to himself probably, I'm assuming, just good at his job. It's his job to make the company money. I don't know what CEO, outside of maybe like a gun manufacturer, wakes up and wants people to die. Like, I don't know. I don't know what CEO wakes up. These CEOs, they work 80-hour weeks and they don't see their families and everything, but they do it because of their obsession to succeed and to build up the company, to make the company successful, to give back to the shareholders, all the reasons they come up with. And if some people die along the way, then that sort of is what it is, right? But this dude, make no mistake, he was a killer. He was such a good killer that the company was like, damn, Brian. Damn, you cold-blooded. We need to make you CEO. Wow, you don't care. You don't care at all. Women, kids, you get them all. Wow, Brian. He got promoted the way a gang member becomes a leader, you know? You're the coldest one out here. You know? It's tough. It's really tough. It's hard. It's also hard because when you talk about it or whenever you're feeling what you're feeling, you don't want to. We're all human, but you don't want to lose your humanity. You know, like you don't want to get so spiteful that you lose some of yourself. You know, and so this dude, they're looking for him, and it's hard because the people are on his side. There's literally people dressing up as him, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like some of the cops were even on his side because the cops were on a manhunt for him in Central Park and they weren't looking hard. Dude, they weren't. Like, did you, if you saw the news and you saw them in Central Park, I've never seen a more lackadaisical hunt in my life. There were cops in Central Park. This is being shot. They see the camera and they know what's going on the news, and they were still like, he ain't in this bush. Where else is there to look? Oh. It's hard, you know? And it's also difficult because you want to have empathy for everybody if possible. You want to see every angle if possible. But this one is tough in a way because of what Brian was just a representative, by the way. That dude just is one of the dudes. Nothing changed. He's one of the dudes. And he can be one of the dudes because the system's already there. So it's not as if doing anything to him does anything to the whole, right? I mean, I will say, I do think they rolled back that anesthesia thing. That did happen. Maybe they'll go through with it later, but for the time being, it seemed like they were like, ooh, okay. You know? But he's allowed to be where he is, how he is, because of the system at play. A system, by the way, who didn't care about Brian either. Let's be honest about that. You know? Because that man was headed to a meeting when he was murdered. And investors still had the meeting. That's how it works. They were getting notifications on their phone that Brian was outside, and they were like, ugh, so the minutes. How's next quarter looking? You know what I mean? That's why it's not worth it. You know? When you put like that much profit over the person, you were also lost in that thing, right? And I think that's a harrowing thing. I think for CEOs, that was like a terrifying moment, because it was the first time that they saw that we see them the way they see us. Do you know what I mean? That's gotta be scary. Because for them, make no mistake, for them, we're not clients, we're not consumers, we're not customers, we're not even users. None of the names that they put in their reports, none of the things that they say to their shareholders, we're numbers. We're an account number, we're this thing. Which is why when we go away, when we disappear, when we die, it doesn't really mean anything to them. Because they never really saw us. And then the response to this shooter, this like overwhelming positive response on social, I'm not saying it was everybody, but a lot of people, it was kind of this wake-up call that we don't see them as people either. Which is, that's scary. That's a scary place to be in, you know? Because when you would see it on the news and the news described it, let's not mince words. It was a murder. The man was murdered. You know what I mean? And the news would describe it as if it was the singular event in history. This horrific crime that took place in the streets of New York in broad daylight, this harrowing attack. And I'm not saying that it wasn't. I'm just saying that the woman in the video with her coffee that got out of the way didn't spill. It was one of the most New York things I've ever seen. For someone to get shot and then a bystander be like, he ain't shooting at me. And so then they catch the shooter, right? And when they caught the shooter, I was at a coffee shop. And everyone got a notification on their phone. We weren't all talking to each other. Just different. You could see everybody was either already on their phone or pulling their phone, but I heard beeps. I heard all the little notification noises. And then in this coffee shop, I'm not even kidding, there was a collective, "Aw." Oh, that's the noise you make if the baby hippo Mudang dies. That was wild. Oh, yeah, they caught him in a McDonald's. And there was footage of him on the news later in that McDonald's eating a hash brown. And when I saw that, I was like, what? Wait, he's eating a hash brown at McDonald's. He's eating McDonald's hash brown. So it had to be before 10:30. He's eating a McDonald's hash brown, which means somebody woke up early to snitch. Damn, barely awake at 9 o'clock. I don't know. Blinking. Oh, that must be him. Let me make the call. You know? And what's even crazier about that is apparently, at least as of the time I am talking to you, it looks like that McDonald's worker that called him is not going to get the reward money. Which, wow. Is not going to get the reward money. And people were looking it up. The person was like, why wouldn't I get the reward money? Everything. Apparently, what they were told and what the internet says is like, actually, the process of collecting reward money for turning someone in is very complicated because there's an amount that has to be it has to be approved by 2 different bodies, and one body approved the $10,000, but when it got up to like 50, 60, it wasn't approved by both bodies. So then when they turned them in, they may not get anything at all, actually, because there's so much confusion around how much to give them or if it's the full amount. And I'm like, damn, that's kind of wild to me, because there was no confusion when they called and they were like, nigga here. So y'all coming, or? That was very straightforward. There weren't any other things you needed to check before you came and picked them up, you know? That's why they in my opinion, they did it wrong. You know, if you're gonna call and you're gonna tell people that he's here, don't call the police right away. Get your money up. Call Blue Cross Blue Shield. Call Blue Cross Blue Shield and be like, hey, I know you don't know me, but I think I might have eyes on your boy. And we don't know what he gonna do next, so what are you thinking, 50, 60? I'm just wondering how much he's worth to you, you know what I mean? Because I could make some other calls if you want. I can call a couple different people. There are about 6 providers. Y'all got a real monopoly going on, so. Okay, because he might be here, he might not. Hurry up. It looked like he leaving. I always thought it was very straightforward. You know, there's a reward out for a fugitive, and then you turn in the fugitive and you get the reward. That's how it happens in all the Westerns. You know what I mean? But then they're like, oh, no, actually, I'm the FBI and the local police have to decide on an amount, and then there's like an arbitration process and everything. It's just so funny that, like, this whole thing happened, and then them trying to get their money just sounds like an insurance claim. You know? So then they come and they catch the dude, and he has everything with him. He's got his backpack with him, gun in his backpack, 4 fake IDs and everything. And it's kind of wild because so many people, when the attack first happened, thought this dude must be an assassin. How do you get out of New York? This man was in Manhattan. He did a shooting, and now no one knows where to find him. In New York, a police state with surveillance everywhere. The man was on an island. And he got off, and they couldn't find him. He must be a genius. And then you find him at 10:02 in McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, with hash brown crumbs all over his face. And then people went from calling him a genius, like, oh, he's so dumb. He's the dumbest man that's ever lived. Look, I think all this proves is one thing. When you read history and you look back, some of these people, because there have been individuals out there saying, you say he's a killer, I say he's a freedom fighter. There are some people that think he's a revolutionary and everything. Let's just say this. This is proof that even when you read a history book, revolutionaries were just sort of figuring it out as they went. You know what I mean? I'm sure Che Guevara had his days where he was like, y'all, I don't know. Whatever y'all want to do, I guess. They see the fake IDs, they question them, they bring them in and everything. And his name is Luigi Mangione, or Mangiani, or Manjone. There's so many different ways I've heard his name pronounced that I'm not positive the name he going by wasn't just one of those fake IDs. Like, that's the most cartoonish name I've heard in years. Luigi Mangione. It sounds like you making fun of an Italian person. Luigi already wild. He don't even go by Luigi. And they put his picture all over the news and everything, and it turns out that he is very good looking. Like, just upsettingly good looking. Almost objectively, in a way. Like, crazy. Everything in its right place and everything's good. Strong eyebrows with a big smile and everything, and just all the pictures. Because you know when the news catch you, when the police catch you, they try to put up some, depending on who you are. This usually happens to black people, but it happens to white people once in a while too, where they try to find the craziest picture they can of you. And I think they tried, but it was tough work, because he is a good-looking individual. Every picture looked good. He would just be with model rockets, looking like a model. Like, it was crazy. They take his mug shot, and the mug shot looked like a cologne ad. Like, that was upsetting to me as a fellow man. I was like, y'all gotta get one bad pic, please. One bad picture. He was doing everything in that mug shot but biting his lip. Like, you've seen the mug shot. My man was... Mug shot's supposed to be simple. Mug shot's supposed to be your face and your profile. Your face and your profile. Your height. It's supposed to be very quick and easy, you know? This man was so good looking, they took extra mug shots. There's some that are like a little lower than him, where he looking down. Like... There's some up high where he just like, you can tell, even the mugshot photographer was like, now do it like you're a bad boy. They tried so hard to get a bad picture of him that they took stills from video. They tried to take stills from video, because that usually gets people. You take a still from a video and somebody was blinking weird. Okay, normally people blink with both eyes at the same time. Every once in a while, like let's say you mid-yawn or something, or you're chewing, one eye might close before the other eye. And if you catch me in this moment, I look a little off, something going on with me. And now if you tell people I killed a bunch of people, you're like, I can see it. I can see it on... That's what the other eye is hiding, is secrets. That's why it's closed like that. Okay. They tried... This man was being led to the jailhouse through what looked like a tunnel, and he getting pushed by police through a tunnel, and he's screaming. And they took stills from that, and those still looked good. Who looks good screaming? This man's getting pushed through the tunnel, yelling back at the media, going, ah, like just... I'll show you right now. What about that was sexy? And people already thirst trapping. If we thought Ted Bundy got letters. It was insane. It was very aggravating. And then every picture looked good to the point where editors and media consultants and stuff like that were like, stop putting pictures out of him. That's how good he looked. They were like, stop. You botched it. don't put out another picture. And you could tell that the newspapers were getting aggravated because these newspapers and these media companies are owned by billionaires who are terrified right now of what's happening. And they see the public lauding this dude as a hero, and they're trying to get at least something. The cops literally had to tase this dude, so he pissed himself, so he took one bad photo. But even in that one, you're like, aw. I just know that there was somebody at a newspaper flipping out going, y'all can't do your job? Y'all can't take one bad photo of this man? Everything got to be in focus? You can't even make it blurry? But I'm not gonna lie, when they caught that dude, I felt, everything started to come back up top, like surface level again, where I felt bad for a lot of different people, you know? I did feel bad for Brian Thompson's kids, because you don't pick who your daddy is, you know? And to a certain degree, I even felt bad for the shooter, because I'm like, you're 26, and you have money, something happened. Something happened. You're smart. You have your whole life ahead of you with all of this opportunity. You disappeared for some time, and now you do something happened, you know? But I felt especially bad, like really, really bad for women. Because finally there was a good-looking, rich, well-read man who has nothing to do with Hollywood, but he does murder some. So, you know what I mean? I could just see somebody trying to defend him. Just women defend their men too hard sometimes. Just like, he just did one. It was just one murder, okay? He can't even murder a little, like. You judging me because my man your man cheat, all right? How about that? Felt bad for a lot of people when it happened, when it became like surface level real again. It wasn't just this like spy crime mystery thing. It was like back down to earth with real people. I also feel very bad for anybody else who got shot that day. It's New York. A lot of people get shot in New York every day. Imagine you get shot in New York. Ow, they got me, right? And you holding it. And let's say you're an artist. So you actually do your own police sketch of your shooter. And then you hobble your way over to the police station and you put in front, like, look, that's exactly what he looked like. I had a lot of time to draw it. Can you go looking? And then the police look at you and be like, sorry, this other thing's sort of an all hands on deck. You know? But yeah, it's tough. It's tough because, you know, there was even a lot of talk about which CEOs in this whole thing were safe. Do you know what I mean? Because like healthcare CEOs were on high alert, but I'm not gonna lie, you know, Luigi, he went to Starbucks and then he did that murder and then he hopped on a city bike and he left New York and everything. If you the CEO of Starbucks, you gotta be like, oh, thank goodness. You know, Starbucks does stuff too. Starbucks, they love that labor. They love that cheap labor. So for you to go to Starbucks before you take out a CEO, I'm not gonna lie, you might as well shot that man with an iPhone. Like, what are you doing? And then he gets found at a McDonald's. I'm sure the CEO of McDonald's is like, oh, thank God, okay. I was always good, yes. You know, CEOs were freaking out, across the board. Who would have thought? Who would have thought CEOs were family? Do you know what I mean? Like, and let's be clear about something. Don't mistake the different CEOs that commented on this, the ones that stayed scared, the ones that appealed to a different way of doing things while they keep doing everything the same way. Don't mistake their self-preservation for empathy. Right? Because those CEOs, they know. And it's not even as if people hated people because they were rich. They hated a system that destroyed people's lives, Because Luigi is rich. Luigi is so rich. When I found out how rich he was, that's so rich. The dude's family owns 2 country clubs. Look. Why do you think I came? This dude's family owns 2 country clubs. This is just me outside looking in. I didn't even know you could own a country club. I thought it was owned by the country. I had no idea, because usually people don't put their name on the country club they own. It's not like it's Rick's Country Club. Like, that's crazy that Luigi's family had more money than the CEO, but then the CEO comes from like humble beginnings and has more money than Luigi does personally. And so it became this whole thing where some people started turning on Luigi and then rooting for the CEO. It was odd because people got too wrapped up in the money. But for me, it's not the money specifically. It wasn't about who's rich and who has more money than who. It was about a system that destroys people's lives, It was about the fact that some jobs make you a monster and there are some jobs you have to be a monster to do. You know what I mean? And so for me, I don't even care that Luigi is rich, because the people, right? The people that love that it happened, the people that didn't care that it happened, the people that just wanted some taste of revenge for how healthcare and health insurance has destroyed their life. We use healthcare and health insurance interchangeably, but I think you know what I mean, how these insurance companies take the good work of doctors, the good work of nurses, and they make it so it's inaccessible, And I think that the CEOs were scared, but let's be honest, not all CEOs were scared. I'm pretty sure the CEO of Ben and Jerry slept pretty good this entire time. Nobody was calling for all the CEOs. Nobody wanted to get Ben or Jerry. We were both very happy with those individuals. You also have a year where whistleblowers who try to stand up to power, and a system, not just like one person, right? Because that's what I think a lot of CEOs don't understand, and why a lot of news media didn't understand about how the people feel, is that there were people who tried to do things the right way. They whistle-blew, hey, this company is doing this thing. It's either putting your life in danger or it's stealing from you. And then all of a sudden, 2024 seemed to be the year of whistleblowers turning up dead. You know what I mean? Look at the Boeing whistleblower. That dude turns up dead when he's supposed to testify in the thing he already risked his life to do, and you're telling me he just mysteriously died in the parking lot of his hotel room that nobody knew he was staying at? Come on now. Come on. And then my man is blowing the whistle on a bunch of stuff we already know. He's like, the door gonna fly off. We heard. And then another whistleblower dies, and another whistleblower dies. And then just today, the whistleblower that blew the whistle on OpenAI was found dead in his apartment. And so, yeah, I think that people, as in individuals just generally in the world, are scared. They're scared of what happens when you stand up to power. They're scared of what happens when you try to do what seems like the right thing, And these powerful people step in, and we don't know, but it looks pretty obvious. what happens? And I think for me, at least to me, people, all of us, are like mirrors of each other. And right now, the mirror's like shattered a little bit. If you put up two mirrors next to each other, you make an infinite image, right? In both directions. But if you crack just one of the mirrors, you've cracked the whole infinite image, you know? And so the way that they see us, not as people, not as people who they should take care of because we are their customers, we are their consumers. We gave them money in good faith for insurance, for our health, and then you deny when I need something. I've been paying all this money. If I had just saved the money and put it aside, I might have enough myself. And now you're standing in the way of me and my health, and you don't think that there's going to be any blowback with that? You don't think anything is going to happen next? That's wild. We're in a time where you see like Josh Shapiro come up and be like, this guy was not a hero. Let me be clear. Sure, fair enough. I'm with you. All right. But you have to pass legislation. You have to get it through. And don't let a lobbyist sway you, and don't let a lobbyist sway your colleagues. You have to do something then. Because I cannot stress enough how scary it is, how much of an inevitability we're heading to. You know what I mean? If you look at history alone, all by itself, is a playbook for some people, is a cautionary tale for other people. I think a lot of the answer to what we're facing is in history. It's in Versailles. And when you read the history of Versailles, you read the history of French Revolution, it's very apparent that, you know, whether it's police, whether it's an army, guards, whatever it is, they protect the powerful, not the people. You know, and the only reason that the people won in the French Revolution, in my opinion, is because the army's guns took like a Seinfeld episode to reload. Like, say, yeah, you can probably get them up out of there real quick. Like you go to, I went to Versailles. I went there, and it is beautiful. It's a testament. It's a monument to like what people can accomplish. But it's all one man's wealth. You know, it's all for the king. But the gardens are beautiful. Inside is beautiful. The mirrors, everything. It's decadent. It's when I walked in, I was like, wow, I get how this can happen. I get how you could have everything in the world and you want to make something like this and it's still not enough. You want to add to it. You want to build more, build better. You see the king's bedroom. You see where Marie Antoinette, her, it's like you see so much. And then you walk through the thing and you also are like, oh yeah, I can also see how if you were hungry enough and you broke in here and you saw what they did, you would probably grab everybody. It doesn't make it right, but France was headed towards an inevitability. You know what I mean? And if you get on TV and you say, this is wrong, this is absolutely wrong, okay, I agree with you. But what are you going to do now? What's the plan? Like, politicians cannot afford to do nothing. CEOs cannot afford to do nothing. And the people cannot afford to do nothing. And if the last part scares you, you might be on the wrong side of history, you know? But that's a tough thing, too, because now there's a lot of people saying, like, all right, you got them, but good luck finding a jury. Good luck finding a jury that wasn't hurt by Brian Thompson. Yeah, that's a tough one. Because now, to me, all Luigi has to do is show up in court and be like, y'all, I tried to call and tell him I was crazy, but they kept me on hold for so long. They kept me on hold for so long, I figured maybe I'll just go talk to him personally.
Charleston, please make some noise for Josh Johnson!
I was talking to one of my friends, and he said that he knew, the first time he knew his like neighborhood was broke was when the bank closed. It's a pretty good indicator. The bank holds that branch's money, and that branch is falling off. And said he went to the bank. And, you know, he basically just straight up asked the teller, he's like, hey, do you know why this branch is closing? And she was like, are you here to make a deposit or withdrawal? And he was like, withdrawal. And she was like, yeah, that's why. That's it in a nutshell. That's exactly what's happening. You do enough of that, and then there is no bank. We're just kind of a building with a little bit of parking. I don't know, I look back at the ups and downs I've had in my life. I've been like broke off and on my entire life, you know? And there's a weird solace sometimes in being broke at the right time. Everyone thinks that the security is in having means and having money, but sometimes not being a part of the circus is its own solace in a weird way. You know that it's bad when you're really shopping at the dollar store. There are things anybody could use at the dollar store. You need a fly swatter, you might as well run up in the dollar store. You know what I mean? You need like a dustpan, might as well run up in the dollar store. But if you're really shopping at the dollar store, things are not great. You know, I would go in the dollar store for stuff you shouldn't even be buying from the dollar store. They sell it, but even the cashier look at you like, you sure? I'm talking about when you have to get your meat at the dollar store. I knew I was in a bad situation when I went to a dollar store and was looking at that meat in the fridge, and I was like, Because the meat at the dollar store, they don't go into specifics. You go to Kroger, Walmart, you go to Target, you go to any of these places, and you'll see the brand of the meat, and then you'll see, you know, all of the little no preservatives ever, completely organic, you know, all the stuff. When you go to the dollar store and you buy your meat, it just says the price and it says meat. And you're like, maybe if I don't ask any questions, it can be whatever I think it is. Because then, I also got a lot of stuff at the dollar store, even as a kid, that I look back and I'm like, that probably wasn't the best. Like a good example, if you know, you know. When you shop at the dollar store, especially if you ever got toys at the dollar store, you know that dollar store toys are in a very specific, slightly copyright infringed arena of toy. You know, like you would have a G.I. Joe, but it doesn't say G.I. Joe. It just says soldier. And you buy this soldier, and it even got the setup like a G.I. Joe, like it stands like a G.I. Joe, but the legs a little too short. So some very long arms. I couldn't tell if the arms were long or the legs were short. And it doesn't have like grip action. It says that on the front, grip action. It just has a hole. They didn't make a hand. They made a hole stub. And then this hole stub is what you go ahead and put the little toy gun through. But then they didn't really measure out the gun versus the hand. And so the gun is not in proportion at all. So it looked like this would blow his arm off if he tried to shoot it. But you bring it home and you're playing with it. And you're like, yeah, soldier, get him. And he's like, I'm gonna get him. Oh, I'm gonna get him. They getting it right now. Trust me. Trust me. Nah, they getting it. Look. Point me over here. Point me over here. No, it was terrible. It was very bad. It was horrible. You know, you would have those dollar store crayons. That's another one. It's a very specific type of drawing as a kid, because those dollar store crayons, they melt in your hand. So you got to be quick with it. You got some imagination. It needs to come out now. You got to put those crayons in the fridge. I remember being around some of these Crayola crayon kids being like, your crayon's stale as hell. Man, y'all don't even freshen up your crayons. That's crazy. That's why your pictures stink. You know what I mean? My pictures smell like leftovers. I remember one of my favorite toys from the dollar store was like a Stretch Armstrong, right? But it was Stretch Armstrong. It would only stretch for like 3 days. Like you only got 3 good days. After that, it would get hard. And if you tried to stretch it after it got hard, it would cut your finger open. I don't know what it was made of, but it was the most malleable, unmalleable thing. It was Play-Doh and adamantium together. No, it was crazy. And that's the thing too, is when you're growing up in this situation, for anyone who knows what I'm talking about from experience, then you also know that it's very hard to know that you're broke, especially if you're a kid. It's hard to know if you are surrounded by love. My family loved me so much, so much. They still do. I make it sound like that. Make it sound like there was a falling out. They still love me. But no, I was surrounded by love. I had my grandparents, and my mom, and my dad's love. I had my aunt, and my uncle's love. I had my cousin's love. I had so much love around me. And when you're surrounded by that much love, you don't know that you don't have money when you have that much love until you meet somebody who has both. That is a curious experience. Like when you're like, oh, you got both parents and a pool? Okay, I think there can be upgrades to life. I see that now. To me, greed is a paradox, because you want everything. Even if you have more than enough, even if you have so much that what you have is starting to hurt you in the long run. You see it with the way that hedge funds cannibalize whole companies. It's like, okay, everybody made some short-term profit, but now this thing that people used to love doesn't exist. You know? Like you take like a Southwest. You know, Southwest, people used to love Southwest. Bags fly free. Affordable tickets. You just sit wherever. You don't have to wait for the person. Southwest used to be so fire, because then you don't have to wait for the person to get to their seat, and you don't have to get up for anybody. Do you know what it's like to just be in your seat on the plane? And everyone's almost here. There's a couple of stragglers. There's almost nobody coming down that aisle anymore. You even settle in. You're like, oh, I may not have a seat next to me. This may be the promised land. You get so comfortable, you're like, man, I might put my other leg over here. Southwest had a brilliant idea. And the bags were flying for free, which makes sense. The bags don't know where they're going. Why should I have to pay for this bag to have an experience too? And then greed, and then private equity, and then hedge funds, and then, shareholder meetings, and then dividends. All the things start to creep in, and it's like, maybe we'll stop doing everything that is why everyone likes us. Maybe we'll just be like the other airlines. They make money, but then you actually look at the people who fly Southwest, and they were like, oh, y'all. Y'all aren't nice enough to be like them, though. Like, your seat doesn't even go back like that. Why would I pay for everything here that I pay for over there? That's crazy. And so then you see people plummet, because they're making decisions based on money, but not money that they need, just more money that they might be able to get. You know? And there's only there's only so much that a business can grow. I understand a startup's passion, and that passion makes sense because the company just started. But after a while, it's like, do you really need to own everything? If the answer is yes, it's like, and they don't say it to us. They say it to each other. You ever get a hold of a recording of a closed door meeting and the way they talk about their own customers? You know, that's why greed is like a paradox to me. You're so greedy that then you end up cannibalizing your own company, your own efforts, yourself. You end up hurting yourself. American greed is another paradox, because as much as we know that the millionaires and billionaires maybe got their money in a way that's a little nasty, we also kind of want to be them a little bit. Everybody wants their piece, but we know how bad it is. You know? There are people who I know who want to be billionaires. They aspire to be billionaires. But if you ask them to name like a good billionaire, it's a hard quiz. But they want to be the billionaire because they're like, no, I will be different. How? You know? That to me is like a drug dealer saying, no, I'm gonna be different. Oh, how so? Oh, I'll only sell drugs to bad people. How will you know that they're bad people? You know, word will get around and they'll buy my drugs and I'll be like, that's a bad guy. No, it's not going to be different just because it's you. That's the trick as well. No, it's different when I do it. It's different when it's me. It's different when it's for me. It's different when it's for my family. Right? So then you hear people talk about recession. That recession is coming. Recession is looming. And to be fair, people have said that since the last recession. Every year, I'm not an economist, but every year there's somebody that's like, it's coming. Get ready, batten down the hatches. And so you're in this situation where, you know, people are very worried, and understandably so. Because it's not really about the money. Money is mostly like the conduit. Money's mostly the placeholder. There are people who find money to be a game, and for them, the number is the important thing. How much actual money they can stack and hoard is the real thing. I want to show how rich I am is the real thing. But for almost everybody else, it's about their survival. It's about taking care of yourself. It's about taking care of the people that you love. So when they hear that there's going to be a recession, they're not really thinking like, oh, the number will go down. They're thinking about food. They're thinking about housing. They're thinking about resources. You know? And the only way forward is with other people. We've proven that this thing doesn't work. And by this thing, I'm not just talking about like one specific system. I'm not talking about like capitalism. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm talking about we've proven that a true rat race does not work. I can't believe the world watched Squid Game and was like, yeah, I think I could win the pot. The pot is the problem. You know? And then I think the other problem is that if you are pitted against people, if you're pitted against the other 330 so million Americans, then yeah, the odds look insurmountable. But when you see how many people are actually in your situation, and you see how many millions of people are just like you, and you put yourself on the same side as them, all of a sudden, all of the weight, it gets a little bit easier. You know? There are people around the world that will never have access to the things that we have access to that make it work. And so sometimes we stress, oh, how am I going to make it work? And it's like the number one way is through community. Your future is your neighbor. There's no other way forward. And I know that can be scary. That's an idea where you have to lay down so much trust at the feet of people that you don't know. That's very scary, because I've had good neighbors and I've had bad neighbors. I've had very bad neighbors. I had a neighbor who stole my trash can. It's the trash can. You could just put your trash in there too. Stole my trash can and lived next to me like I'm not gonna notice my trash can. And he was big too, and I'm pretty sure he sold drugs, so I wasn't gonna take my trash can back, but I was like, I will put my trash in my trash can over here though. Just because you stole the trash can doesn't mean I'm gonna get another trash can. It's a trash can, and trash goes in. You could put your trash over here, but then you wanted to put it in front of your yard. Okay, fine, whatever. I'm sure you have a gun, so I won't make a big deal of it. But I've had bad neighbors, and I've also had incredibly kind, incredibly sweet neighbors. I had neighbors that made any transition period I've been having in my life easier. I remember when I moved to Chicago and I was living in my first apartment, I had a neighbor that knocked on my door. I had been living there for like 2 days, and I didn't have stuff. I'm like this broke kid who just moved to Chicago with like 2 suitcases of like clothes and a couple of other things. And so knocks on my door, and it's like, hey, this older guy, and he's like, hey, I saw that you moved in. If you need anything or you have any questions about the building, just hit me up. I live right there. And I'm thinking he's like the building manager or something. So I'm like, oh yeah, what's your name? And we get to talking a little bit, and as we're talking, I realize he doesn't work for the building at all. This dude is literally just checking on me for the sake of checking on me. And he's like, if you need anything, because I saw, you were having a little trouble, I couldn't have caught up to you, but I was going to help you up and everything. And I was like, oh, thank you, man. And we didn't see each other often. And I remember the day that I moved out, because I ran into him again. I ran into him and his wife. And he was like, man, I'm sorry to see you go. Because I can tell, we never really got to chop it up or anything, but I could tell that I like the way you move. And you didn't cause any trouble. You were just cool. And I wish I would have knocked on your door a couple more times, right? I never forgot about that guy, because even knowing that there was someone there if I was having a problem, it just made living there on my own a little bit easier. Just in the back of my head. Once again, we didn't even have that many interactions. I only knocked on his door a couple times. And the couple of times I knocked on his door, he needed help too. There was one time where we had in our building a chute for the laundry that nobody used. Nobody ever used it, because it's not like it was one person. Do you ever, the chute for, this isn't Eloise. It's weird that there was a chute for the laundry, because it just went to the floor down there, and you'd have to go down there to wash your own clothes anyway. So I guess if you wanted to save yourself the weight of the trip, you could push all the clothes down and let them get nice and nasty, and then slip through the chute and then hit the ground, and now it's got different stuff on it than the reason that you're washing it. So nobody used it. And nobody used it because it was nasty. And so then one day, the actual building manager poured a whole bunch of bug poison down it to try to kill some of the bugs that had been living in there. And the bugs were like, you know what? I think we'll go everywhere else. And so then one day I came home and my apartment was just overrun with bugs, and it didn't make sense because I didn't even have stuff. I had a fork, a bowl, it was kind of like a saucer. It wasn't a plate. It was a plate that you would put a teacup on. I didn't even have dishes to be nasty enough to have all these bugs. So I'm freaking out. I'm killing a bunch of bugs, and then I run over and I knock on his door, and when I open his door, he looks like me. He's like, you too? And both of us just knowing that we're both dealing with bugs was enough to make the whole thing easier. He helped me kill some of my bugs. I helped him kill some of his bugs. And we were both very upset with the building manager. I had another neighbor when I was living this like short little bit in this, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like, it was a house, but it was like, you know how there's it wasn't a duplex. Okay, the house I was living in was like perfectly split in two, right? To make two unlivable houses. Okay, so I wasn't staying there for long, but it was just two completely unlivable houses, right? And I had a neighbor that lived next to me where I moved in, and once again, this older lady, so sweet as could be, knocks on my door, and it's like, hey, I saw that you just moved in. She had baked something, like old school, like out of the movies. She had baked something. She was like, I made you a little something, some muffins. I know moving is hard. I know sometimes you don't have anything to eat right after you move, so this is for you, right? And I was like, oh, I didn't even know what to do. I was like, oh, thank you so much. And she was like, yeah, I like to help people get their bearings. And just so you know, I just want to be the one to tell you so you don't have to find out on your own. There's a crackhead in the wall. And when you get that type of warning, it does make you look at the muffins twice. One has nothing to do with the other. But I was still like, oh. And she was like, yeah, we thought it was a bird for a long time. And then he started talking. And so if you hear anything in the middle of the night, just pound on the wall a couple times and he'll stop. I was like, okay. All right. Okay. And I closed the door and I sat in silence for the rest of the night, waiting to hear a noise that would never come. It wasn't until like months later I heard some scratching in the wall, and I was like, how does somebody just live with it? And so I knocked on her door, and she came to the door. She was like, you hear him too. And I was like, look, I know you lived here longer than me, but in case it is a bird, maybe we should call animal control. Just throwing it out there, right? And she's like, you can do what you want. I called animal control, and then they could hear the scratching too. And then they went ahead and went on the roof, and they said that they found a slight hole in the roof, and turns out it was a bird. It had been a bird the entire time, and I'm pretty sure it was a bird when she heard it, but maybe she just had the TV on. Maybe she was like, he's talking. Animal control leaves with the bird. I go over, I tell her it was a bird, animal control called the bird, and she was like, thank you so much. Seriously, thank you so much. That has been happening for like 8 months, off and on, and I was positive it was a crackhead. And I guess that's what a good neighbor does. I guess a good neighbor lets you know nobody's in your wall. Because I think fundamentally the toughest thing people are facing right now is like a true a true way forward where they can trust other people to help them and take care of them. And I can't tell you to just blindly put your faith in people that you don't know, even if they live next to you. But what I can tell you is that most people return energy. Most people give like for like. So if there's a community that you want around you, all you have to do is be its founder. If you are the one knocking on your neighbor's door, letting them know you're here, if they need anything, they'll probably do the same for you. And it's so simple to build community. It's so much more likely that you're gonna build community than you're gonna become a billionaire. Do you know what I mean? Like, both things are incredibly hard to do. They take a lot of hard work and everything, and one of them means everyone will hate you. You know, because when you're broke as well, the thing that happens, I think, the most often is that we have a real misunderstanding of each other. Rich people, the rich people that I've met in my life, no rich person I know feels rich. They feel comfortable. Now, they'll do whatever it takes to maintain their level of comfort, but they don't feel rich. They're like, no, I'm just comfortable. I'm just chilling. And you show them how much they make, and they're like, yeah, I got to maintain, you know, I got kids, I got to. And then you show them how much the rest of the world makes, and they're like, ooh. Okay, maybe we don't tell anybody how much I make. And the same thing, when you're broke, there's a genuine misunderstanding around the decisions that people make when they're poor, around the way that people think, because there's not the possibility of thinking past tomorrow, because you're not even sure you're gonna get there. Do you know what I mean? When you really don't have means, when you really don't have money, you come off wild sometimes because all your requests are strange, because you're just trying to piece things together just so you can make it to the next day. You know? Like a good example is I used to work at a grocery store, and one time in the break room, we're eating our lunch, and this one dude opened his lunch and then just said out loud to everybody, hey, I made a hamburger at home, but oof, does anybody have a top bun? Sir, they're always sold even. How did this happen? We look at money as paper, right? At least when it's in its physical form, it's this paper thing. But it's more than paper. There's fabric weaved into it. There's linen, there's cotton. It works the same way that society works. There's fabric that weaves all of us together. And there are people who have not been able to participate in the opportunities of making money or making their well-being out of these chances in the market the way that other people have. And so when you tell them that a recession is coming, they're like, oh, a what? Okay. I was already broke. Do you know what I mean? What is a recession to somebody who was on the street the whole time? I guess the best example I can give is one time I was at a party with my friends, and I fell in the pool. And falling in the pool at a party is one of the more embarrassing things you can do when it's not a pool party. If you fall in the pool at a party where people are just sort of standing around the pool and talking, you might as well have fallen off the roof. But I fell into the pool at the party, which is not just embarrassing, it's not just annoying, because now all my clothes are wet and everything. It's terrifying because I can't swim. You know what I mean? I'm not a swimmer in the way that I would like to be. And the way that I would like to be is to be able to survive. And so when it comes to swimming, I'm not only not a fan, I'm not efficient. And so I get in the water, and when you don't swim, and I don't just mean can't swim, I'm saying when you don't swim, like for fun or anything, being surrounded by water out of nowhere is very concerning. I didn't realize I had stepped into the pool until I was in the pool. So now what I feel like has happened is that I turned around and water surrounded me. And so I start doing what I think swimming is innately. I start fighting the water, right? I'm punching and I'm kicking and I'm like, get off me, water, but I'm in the water. But I'm like, get back, I don't want you over here. And that's not how water works. And so I'm sifting through the water and it's almost like swimming, except I'm staying in place underneath it. So that is drowning. That's what drowning is. When you're swimming perfectly, but you're not going up above and you can't get your head up, you're not actually swimming, you're drowning. And it's also exhausting. You're fighting and you're punching, you're kicking, and you're moving, and you're doing a pretty good job of drowning. If you could get your head above water, this would be swimming. And if you could get your chest up, if you could do that butterfly thing, now you're a swimmer. But I am over here, no more water. Get out of my face, right? So then it takes someone pulling me out of the water for me not to actually drown. And not right after, not soon enough after, but pretty soon after, we leave the party. And not as soon as you would like if you almost drowned. You know what I mean? Like and it's tough too, because like the dude saved you as your ride. So now he's doing you two favors, you know? So then, you know, man saves me. And my buddy pulls me out of the water. And now, you know, we stay an extra 20 minutes because now he's got his MAC points for saving a life in front of everybody, you know? That's what most embarrassing. The only thing more embarrassing than like showing a whole party full of people you can't swim is to be sitting there wet while the person that saved you tries to mac on somebody. Just like, yeah, you know, I do what I can. I do what I can. Try to help out the people, you know, when doing my best. And it's like, also, my man didn't. Look, I'm not necessarily trying to give notes on being saved, but like, my man did jump in the pool and grab me and lift me up and swim me to the shore of the edge of the pool, right? This man just stuck his arm in and kept clawing at me until he got the back of my shirt. That's barely saving. Like, when I tell you that I'm over here, stop it, water, no, I don't want any more. And then he is over here, bow, and he missed like 8 times. So he was punching me in the head while trying to save my life. And he finally hooks his hand behind my collar and pulls me up the way that a cat sort of lifts its kitten in its mouth. You know what I mean? Just sloppy. And then I'm also still fighting. I don't know what's pulling me up, so I don't know if that's more drowning. I don't know what the effects of drowning feel like. So now I'm not necessarily fighting his hand, but I am still fighting the water. And so if you were on the other side of the pool, it does look like I was drowning. He reached in, dunked me one more time just to be safe, and then pulled me up. Because I don't know that he's trying to help me. But when he finally pulls me up and I'm over here coughing up the water and everything, this man helps me get up out of the pool and then immediately sees the eyes on him and everything, sees the opportunity, and he's like, oh, yeah, you know. I do what I can. Also, I know he saved my life and everything, but also the fact that he didn't need to roll his sleeves up like that. Like that was even more just worth like, oh yeah, you know, I tried. Now you sitting here wet, just like, can you wrap it up, get the number or don't? And so then me, him, and some other friends head to his car once he's ready to leave, and his car won't start. Waited for nothing. Now, luckily, we were staying at his house, and luckily he did live close enough to the party that we could walk. It was like maybe, I don't know, like a mile and some change. It wasn't crazy. And so we start walking. As we start walking, it starts drizzling. And then it's drizzling a little bit more, drizzling a little bit harder, and then it really starts raining. And when it starts raining, all my friends did a different thing when it was raining. Like, I had one friend that did the turtle. Just walking and just trying to... And I get it, because he has some deep collarbones. He would have had 2 lakes on either side of his neck if he had just let the water hit. That would have been 2 puddles he had to carry. So I understand him trying to... Then I had another friend who was over here doing this, which genuinely pissed me off. That's one of the craziest things I've seen. One hand, you have 2 hands, one hand covering some of your head, but not even efficiently. Where's the distance management here? You'd be better putting the hand on your head. Then I had another friend who just decided to lean forward, because I guess he just doesn't want a wet front. He's just cool with it all hitting the back. And as it's raining and raining, my friend was over here doing this, turns to me, because I'm just walking. I'm not doing any of this. I'm just walking normal. And they're like, oh, Josh, you must not mind the rain. And I was like, I almost drowned 20 minutes ago. And that's what it's like when you're broke. You're almost drowning all the time. So when people try to scare you with talks of a recession, you're like, why would I? What? You're doing this. I'm already wet. And the way to ensure that you're going to be okay, the way to ensure that your family is going to be okay, is by creating chains, by linking up together with other people, with other families. Because the way forward, your future, I guarantee you, it's not in the market. There's a belief that, like, if I can just get enough ahead, maybe I'll pull some other people with me. And that sort of thinking is the reason that we as the people can be taken advantage of so easily when it comes to money. It's like, I can get you a little bit ahead. Oh, I'd like to be a little bit ahead, right? But the way forward, your future, I promise you, it's in your neighbor. I promise you, there's no one that's going to take care of you like the people that are actually next to you. And it's kind of daunting to me. It does freak me out a little bit that there are so many people, every election, every year, no matter who's president, that expect the person in office to make them rich. Don't you know this is America? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just not how it works. It's not how it's ever worked. You may like the person in office, you may not, but I guarantee you they're not gonna make you rich. That's not how anything works. And don't get me wrong, I've had dreams before. I had a hard time getting to know people, and I had a hard time communicating with people. I'm an only child, and my mom wanted me to have friends so I wouldn't be crazy. And so, as a single parent with one kid, my mom, the only thing she knew how to do was go ahead and take me over to her other single parents' friends' houses where they had one kid, and she was like, maybe y'all will just play and not be crazy together. And sure enough, there was a time in my life where my parents got back together, and so we were a 2-income household, so I started to get the good toys, right? The real good toys. I'm talking WCW, NWO, wrestling toys, Sting, Goldberg, Kevin Nash. And sure enough, you know, I remember I got those toys. Those are some of my favorite toys in the world because I didn't know ankles had come out yet. I would hold up my Kevin Nash and I'd be like, bow, 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 bow. Look what he does. Bow, 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 bow. He had knees, he had ankles, he could do this. That's crazy. I was used to this only. Maybe if you were getting fancy, some of this, but I wasn't used to this. This thing right here, this is crazy. Real shoulder movement? My mind was blown. It's like, look at what this thing can do. Bow, 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 right? And so then my mom took me over to her friend's house, and her friend had a kid, and I went ahead and brought over 2 of my toys. I brought my Kevin Nash and I brought my Sting because I'm trying to make a good impression. And so we're talking, they're talking, and finally we go to his room to play, and my mom leaves to go run some errands or something. And I quickly realized after my mom left that he was crazy. He was genuinely crazy because all of his toys, every single one of his toys, didn't have a face. None of his toys had faces. I don't know if he was chewing them or if he was burning them, but they were gone. And so he looked at my Sting toy and he was like, oh, we have the same one. And I was like, I don't see how that's possible. I don't see how that's possible. And then sure enough, this kid pulls out his Sting toy, and I know we have the same toy because the Sting had the jacket. The jacket you could put on, you could take off and everything. And so we're playing, and I'm trying to be a collaborative new friend, right? I'm like, what do you want to do? You want to do Legos? You want to do like wrestlers, whatever? And then we decide Legos. So I was like, do you want to build a castle? You want to build a wall? What do you want to do? So we decide to build a castle, right? And then this kid, we're halfway through the castle, maybe 100 pieces to go. And this kid grabs the castle, lifts it up, throws it against the wall. It explodes into like 190,000 pieces. And I'm like, what did you do that for? And he goes, don't talk to me. And I was like, oh man, yeah, chill, Satan, chill, okay? Back up, devil, okay? Because I had been prepared in case the situation happened, because I knew I wasn't a crazy only child, but I knew there were other crazy only children out there. So I already had my thing on me, right? I had that lance in my back pocket. I was like, don't you come near me. I will cut you open. This thing is 6 weeks old.